So today I thought I'd point out some of the big moves that are going to be happening for stocks this week. A few stocks will be moving massive and I thought I'd make you aware of that. It's going to be a big week. Next week though is an even bigger week for me. So when it gets to Monday next week, I'll also point them out for you. But we are in the peak of earnings season, so there's still going to be a lot of moves this week. So yeah, I hope this video is a little helpful for you guys. Let's get started. So you've probably seen in the markets today a little bit of an ugly day out there. You can see the Dow was down, the S&P was down, and the Nasdaq was down a fair amount. Now I was actually looking at my account, and my account wasn't actually that bad. I looked into DraftKings. DraftKings was up. I thought, oh, that's probably why my stock account's not doing too bad at the moment, because the king is up. And I've got to say, I've not really talked about it all this year, but it's been a fantastic year for the king, up 24%. It's definitely been crushing the S&P so far this year, and it's probably why I'm having a pretty good year in the account as well. So yeah, probably should do a bit of an update with DraftKings, but I was waiting for earnings next week before I do talk about it. But another stock that I want to talk about that's been absolutely crushing the market at the moment, Nvidia. Nvidia is up 42% year to date. You'd think after last year, with the stock being up already a lot last year, you'd think this year it can't be as hot. But you look at it, 42% this year. Now, I've got to say, I've always say, like, stocks like Nvidia and Tesla, like, even though I think, like, Tesla is getting to, well, I did think it was overvalued. It's starting to come down a lot in value now. I was like, don't bet against these sort of stocks. You know, Apple, even though I think Apple's overvalued, never bet against Apple. Nvidia, never bet against Nvidia. Now, I've got to say, I looked at this and I thought, this has got to be getting to, you know, like a bubble territory now. But I looked at Nvidia and I went, realistically, yeah, at the moment it does look a little expensive at 90 times earnings. But obviously, you know, this AI boom has really helped them. You look at the growth they're actually putting in at the moment, and this year is 118%. Next year, the forecast, this is for 2024 by the way, and 2025 is 58%. From an EPS point of view, they're expected to go to $12 and then $20 in EPS. I mean, if they are going to do these numbers realistically, which we'll see if they do them, that's another story there. But, I mean, 32 times earnings isn't terrible. So I've been looking at a video and seeing the share price going up, and I was like, it's got to, and I think a few people might be a bit guilty of this, is that going, oh, this valuation is getting a little bit ridiculous. But you do look at the numbers and you do look at the forecast, you go, if they do hit those numbers though, it's probably not too bad of a valuation. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it's cheap, but I'm not saying it's ridiculous where you're going, this is bubble technology, you know, bubble area. We're in a bit of a bubble here, but I mean, if we were at the point of view where we were forward times earnings of 100 times forward earnings, that might be a different story. But I don't know. I don't know what you guys think about that. I personally was quite shocked to see actually it wasn't that bad. I don't know if you guys feel the same, or if you think it's cheap or expensive, but thought I'd point that out. The market today, though, is a little bit red because Jerome Powell did an interview. He basically said in the interview that he's saying that interest rate cuts are not coming at the moment. I mean, that's the obvious. We know they're not going to come for a bit. We've talked about it for a while. The market got carried away thinking the cuts were going to be next month. They're not going to be for a few months yet. And obviously Jerome Powell's going to, you know, play it off. He's not going to say there's any cuts coming in anytime soon. But as we said before, US true inflation is now sitting at 1.4%. He is going to cut this year. He's just playing it cool. He'll leave it to probably July time. He'll start the cuts, because if he leaves it too late, we'll start hitting deflation, and that's going to be a bigger issue than inflation. So yeah, I won't personally worry about it. I think the market is just throwing its toys out the pram because it isn't getting the cuts earlier than what we wanted. But that was the market just being absolutely stupid pricing in the cuts anyway. Barrett Developments are actually going to be reporting this week as well. They actually bring out their half-year results on the 7th of February. I think we're about there in the bottom on the UK housing market. I think we're about there. If you look at the stock prices, the stock prices suggest as well that we have hit the bottom as well. And obviously the reason why is we're starting to lap those tough comps at the moment. So yeah, I think we are starting to see the bottom of the housing market right now. And we'll see if the account starts showing the signs of it. The big thing will be the outlook rather than the actual accounts. But yeah, we'll see what's going on there. But a mega week of earnings. We've already had Caterpillar, which I think had a pretty good day. McDonald's, I think they're seeing a bit of an impact from the Middle East, from the numbers that they've already bought out. Not checked Tyson out. I've seen a few people buying that into a dividend stock. SD Lauder, I think they did okay. I think they said they're going to cut a few more jobs, and the market liked it. And Palantir, I thought Palantir was this morning, and I was like, it's very quiet. Like, Palantir is like one of the most popular retail stocks. I thought I'd see everyone kind of talking about it, and I thought it's really quiet today. And normally I'd be getting a few notifications through like, oh, Palantir is up 5% today or down 5% today. And I had none of them coming through, and I was thinking, what's going on with Palantir? And then I realised it was this evening. I don't know if I got this wrong, but I always thought Palantir reported on an open, never on a close. I don't know if I got that wrong, and I never follow it that well. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously a big retail stock, so we'll see what's going on there. Tuesday, Snapchat, that's a volatile one. Spotify, BP, a few people like the BP for the dividends. Elf Beauty, Fortinet, that's interesting. I'll see what them guys are doing over there. AAA, Ford. Enphase are reporting. Now, Snapchat and Enphase are two of the most volatile stocks in earnings season. Enphase, obviously, it has been having a tough time at the moment. Stock has been absolutely slaughtered. It has had a little bit of a bump up through October, but I don't know if that's a bit of a dead cat bounce because it has started to give some of it back. I've got to say what really surprised me about Enphase, and I don't know when this happened. I went on the analyst numbers, and they've updated rapidly. Like, I looked at the EPS, and the EPS has been downgraded. I looked at the sales growth. I mean, they're expecting flat growth this year. They're expecting a 19% decline next year. I mean, in the current quarter, they're expecting a 54% decline in revenue, and in next quarter, 56% growth. I was like, when did this happen? When did analysts start downgrading these numbers? Because I even had to go on Wayback Machine to see what was going on, and I went on the 28th of August, 2023. So I'm literally only going 3 months ago. And you can see here, the analysts all had the EPS going from $5 to $6. They're expecting 12% growth this year. Next year, they're expecting the company to grow. And I remember when I was looking at this and I was going, there's no way that they're going to do these numbers. Analysts are in for a shock. And for some reason, out of nowhere, all these downgrades have happened, and yet the share price hasn't really reflected it at all. And I was like, that really doesn't make sense. So I don't know when all these big downgrades happen, but clearly not had any effect on the share price when you would think of all these financial downgrades. So I was going off this. I was thinking, I know the expectations for the next quarter are very hard. I mean, they were expecting EPS to only go down by a bit and only 17% decline in revenue. I was like, no way they're doing that. It's going to be a horrible fourth quarter. And then I looked at the expectation. I was like, hold on, how have they downgraded this much and it's not affected the share price? I don't know when that happened, but hey, it's crazy, the stock market sometime. Then we've got Alibaba that's been going to report. I think that's a really interesting one. I thought the numbers were decent last time and the stock went down, which is absolutely crazy. So we'll see what happens with Alibaba. We've got Uber, CVS Health. I know a few people like CVS Health. PayPal, that's probably the big one for me this week. See how they're doing. Obviously, Alex Chris. I mean, realistically, Q4 doesn't really matter. What we're looking about is the changes he's going to make in 2024, and then his guidance he's going to give for 2024. That's what's going to move the stock. So I think numbers-wise, EPS-wise, revenue-wise, even if it's a little bit of a miss, even if it's a little bit of a beat, I don't think the market will react too much on it just yet. I think the big look, yeah, like I said, I think outlook. Everybody was staying at outlook, and if they give it, you know, we might not actually see them give the outlook, but yeah. Disney, I think there's a bit of pressure on Disney. I thought Netflix's numbers were pretty decent, so we'll see if they can put a decent quarter in. I think the last quarter was a bit of an improvement, actually, to be fair. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. We've got Arm, Win Resorts, Paycom. I think they had a bit of a drop last time. Mattel, really surprised not to see any benefit that Mattel had from the Barbie lift, really, but we'll see what goes on there. And then on the Thursday, Affirm, Pinterest, don't own that one now, but I'll see how they're doing. I thought their earnings report was pretty poor last time, but the stock market seemed to like it, so we'll see what happens there. And on the Friday, we've got a few companies reporting, but probably the big standout one is PepsiCo. So yeah, still a big amount of earnings that are going to be moving. Definitely the two that are going to impact me the most, or probably the three, I can't say two, is this Wednesday, Alibaba, PayPal, and Walt Disney. Those are probably the three big ones for me, but there's definitely a few that I'll be checking out this week. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about in the video as well. And yeah, I'll probably make a few videos on these stocks this week when they're making moves. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Catch you in a bit.